I got to be honest, one of the hardest names in this draft class, Washington DT, Levi Onwuzurike.
But the best name, the most fun name to pronounce in the same class, Osa Odighizuwa. Welcome back to the 2021 Draft Position Preview Series presented by Pepsi. We're breaking down the defensive tackles here in the BetMGM studio, and that just might be the Jets' deepest position.
Yeah, and the guy atop the depth chart is Quinnen Williams, your traditional three technique. He had 7 sacks last year, became one of the better interior pass rushers in all of football. Joe Douglas did not rest on his laurels, though, in free agency, adding another former first-round pick in Sheldon Rankins. A couple years ago with the Saints, when Rankins was healthy, he had 8 sacks, so he joins the rotation. You also have a traditional run plugger in Lorenzo Fatukasi, and don't forget about Nathan Shepard. He adds valuable depth.
So what EA is saying is that it might be unlikely the Jets add a premier talent in this draft class to the defensive line, specifically the interior. But this guy right here, another Alabama player, Christian Barmore, could be the first one off the board.
It's going to be either Barmore or Levi Onwuzurike from Washington, an undersized defensive tackle, much like Williams plays the three technique. Barmore, 6'5", a longer player, and he's a guy who flourished down the stretch last season for the Crimson Tide. 5 sacks over his final 5 games, including 2 of Justin Fields in the championship game. This is a guy who runs in the 4.9 range.
Which is just insane, by the way. And if those two guys are the top 2 defensive tackles, the second wave includes guys like this, Davion Nixon out of Iowa.
I like Nixon a lot. 13.5 tackles for loss last season with the Hawkeyes. Also had 5.5 sacks. I thought he made one of the plays of the year. He had an interception against Penn State that he not only grabbed, but he took to the house, a 71-yard scoring return. So he can battle you in the phone booth, but he also has good feet to get lateral.
Other names to watch, Milton Williams out of Louisiana Tech, Aleem McNeil. And let's say the Jets don't add players like Barmore or Nixon. Maybe they want to add some depth later in the draft. Well, how about Osa Odighizuwa out of UCLA? A great name and a pretty good player as well.
You mentioned McNeil. He's more of a nose tackle. Odighizuwa is a guy who offers a lot of position flexibility, and he had a great week down in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl. He's also a former high school wrestler who's very powerful. And the other thing that I think a lot of teams are going to like about Odighizuwa is not only his position flex, but he is a long-limbed defensive lineman. You mentioned it. He can play inside and outside, offers versatility for whichever team drafts him. And for your full coverage of the NFL draft, stay right here on NewYorkJets.com.